welcome to Device Casting Couch Season 1, Episode 8. Today we'll be talking about T-Mobile getting hacked, criminals stealing your cryptocurrency, and a big leap for internet privacy. I am Ryan. Joining me today is John.
Yeah, straight from Memphis. You already know.
Oh, yes. Straight out of Memphis. All right, why don't you start us off, John?
All right, so I got a couple articles about various cell phone companies. So, for instance, OnePlus, they suffered a data breach which impacted their online store customers. So, if you don't know, OnePlus is a Chinese smartphone manufacturer, and they make, I'd say, pretty good products. They try to undercut like Samsung and all that, but have still provide the same features. Anyway, it was saying we really don't know too much. They didn't disclose too much information, so I was just going to briefly cover it.
Okay.
So it came to light. OnePlus started informing their affected customers via email and published a brief FAQ page on their website describing the security incident and what went down, like that it happened. And according to OnePlus, they discovered the breach just last week, that an unauthorized party accessed order information of its customers, including their name, contact numbers, emails, and shipping addresses. The OnePlus wanted to assure customers that they were not able to access any payment information, passwords, or associated accounts. OnePlus did not disclose the vulnerability that the attackers used, so they're not entirely sure. Well, they didn't. I bet they know, but they didn't tell us what happened.
Yeah, so they're just having like kind of a limited release of what's going on.
Due to this, the company is releasing a bug bounty program at the end of December 2019, which will allow all you researchers and hackers to get paid for reporting some vulnerabilities. So if you try and get some of that money, go do your thing.
No, that is good though. I definitely respect when companies, they realize that there's a problem. They know they've been hacked. They don't try to hide it or do anything like that. They know they've been hacked. They realize there's a problem, and then they kind of outsource the solution to the public. I definitely appreciate that.
Even though passwords and all that stuff weren't affected, email addresses were. So they're saying just be wary of fishy emails, people trying to steal your credit cards, because those phishing emails, we all know, can look very legitimate. And they still recommend you changing your password. It's just in case, like they said, it wasn't, they didn't get access to it, but they just want to be on the safe side and everything.
Yeah, it's still your personal info, so definitely protect yourself in any way that you can.
So that's just a small one for OnePlus. We'll roll into T-Mobile. It's interesting. OnePlus and T-Mobile are kind of partnered. They were like T-Mobile was the first company to carry OnePlus's phone, so it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
They're not linked in any way that I know of, so I just wanted to say that right now.
Okay.
But so T-Mobile, they released a statement on their website that said their cybersecurity team discovered a malicious, unauthorized access to information associated with an undisclosed number of its prepaid wireless account customers. T-Mobile did not disclose when the breach happened or how the attackers accessed the data of its prepaid customers, but they did say some of the stolen information includes names, phone numbers, billing addresses, account numbers, rates, rate plans with features like if they have international calling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
T-Mobile confirmed that no financial information like social security numbers or passwords were compromised. So they shut down how the attackers got it and notified law enforcement. They're also notifying customers through email.
Okay.
They also made a statement saying that if you did not receive an email notification from them, it's likely your account was not one of the ones impacted.
Okay,
but they're still recommending you to change your PIN and passcode.
Okay, and that's only prepaid customers, correct?
As far as the article says, it only says prepaid wireless customers. So.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So yeah, those are quick things. If you're T-Mobile, I know a lot of people out there like T-Mobile. They get good rates and everything.
Yeah. Definitely take a look at your account. Look for any like fishy activity or anything like that.
Don't you use T-Mobile, Ryan? Or
I do. Yeah.
Oh, they got you.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely gonna be going over my account. Change all that stuff.
But yeah, and it's always good to change your passwords and everything, because as we were what was it last episode? We're talking about credential stuffing, or essentially you just reuse the same password,
Yes. Yep.
and then people they get it from a breach and they just try it on everything.
Yeah, it was with the VPN thing, right?
Oh yeah, I believe so. Also,
Yeah.
seeing we're on it, I know Disney Plus seen it released not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Some credential stuffing stuff like that has happened. Like people were saying they got hacked, and Disney Plus is like, no, we didn't get hacked. But yet there's like these lists of accounts just um, on the dark web being like sold and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's for anyone who doesn't frequent the dark web a lot, we have, and there are literally hundreds of sites that just have bundles of data for sale. And some of it's not even for sale, some of it's just posted freely. But it does exist. I know a lot of people don't know how the dark web works, or they don't know like what it looks like and stuff like that. And some people say it's not as bad as all that, and you know, as bad as what you see on the news and all that. But
If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, I'm gonna make a series called Hood Rat Tech. We can explore the dark web, and I can show you how to install the browser and everything if you want.
yes, we will be we'll be showing you, because there is a lot. You know, I don't know if anyone's seen the image of the iceberg where it's like, you know, 20% of the internet is what you see on the surface, like freaking Facebook and YouTube and all that crap. And then there's the rest of the internet, which is, you know, there's the dark web and the deep web. So the deep web is just all that other internet, and the dark web is that portion of the deep web that's used for criminal activity. So it's not all bad, but stuff like this does exist like pretty frequently on the dark web.
If you just want to watch someone browsing, a good channel is called Some Ordinary Gamers, and he browses the dark web, and he clicks some kind of disturbing stuff sometimes. Obviously, he makes it good for YouTube,
Yeah.
but it's just a little creepy. You kind of get the chills a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of nasty stuff on the deep web. I'm not gonna lie. I've come across a lot of stuff that I wish I hadn't.
What you clicking on, man?
Hey, don't worry about it. All right, go on to the next article. Next article.
Oh, okay. Speaking of dark web, there's Monero is a cryptocurrency that is prized for its privacy and anonymity, and there was a hack on their website. So basically, I believe it was Monday, Monero reported that there was a user of Monero, actually. He downloaded the client from Monero, and you know how a lot of websites, they have the cryptographic hashes like MD5 and SHA-256.
Yeah.
He was one of the few people to actually check the hash against what he downloaded,
Mm-hmm.
and he realized the hash didn't match, and so he reported to Monero like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And so Monero investigated, and they found that they were compromised, and that the people who downloaded their wallet between the 18th of November at 2:30 a.m. UTC to 4:30 p.m. UTC downloaded this malicious Monero wallet, and so it's not sure how they compromised the website, but they found out when they analyzed the code of this malicious one that whoever put it there put a couple lines in there to automatically steal and send the user's wallet seed, which is like the secret key used to make your wallet and everything. And if you have that, you pretty much own the wallet.
Yeah. Because that's what only the owner has that. So they
So this
that.
code in there, it would send the key to this remote server that the attacker controls, we assume, allowing the attacker to have the seeds and be able to steal your funds. At least one person of Monero on Reddit claims they lost $7,000 worth.
Wow.
After installing it. So we don't know, because it's just some person on Reddit. Anyone can make a Reddit account, you know what I'm saying?
True.
But I'm saying $7,000, that's a lot of money. I'd be pretty salty.
Well, that's all the resources for mining as well. If he mined all that, if he didn't just buy it, but if he mined that, that's forever. Like that's a lot of electricity and resources just to get that. Could you go over what hashing is, just in case someone doesn't know?
Oh, so hashing is basically just this mathematical formula, like this algorithm, and you can put like a file, and it runs it through the algorithm, and it spits out like however many characters of
A ton.
it's just a random string of characters that's unique to that file.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's very hard to it's like almost impossible to spoof. Some of the older ones have started to have different attacks. They've shown with, I know, a PDF file that they can make two different PDF files look exactly the same.
Yeah.
But that's not something to worry about. I think it took like 3 months and a bunch of like cloud computers to like crunch the numbers.
Yeah.
Because they were doing something weird. But basically, it's just a way of, it's like a fingerprint of a file. After they run it through this algorithm, it's unique to that file, and then you can actually run that same algorithm on your computer of the file you downloaded to verify that it's the same.
Yeah.
And as long as it's the same, you know that you have a good file. And so obviously, this user, he's following good practices, and he checks his hashes against stuff he downloads. I know a lot of websites of at least open source software have started putting the hashes up.
Mm-hmm.
So you can check it your way. That makes sure you have like legitimate stuff. It's not coming from a third party. It doesn't have any like malicious anything. Because even if they change that file one bit, the hash changes. So
Yeah, and you can test this out as well. A good experiment is you like write out a Word document and just say like test or whatever, run it through a hash algorithm, and then open up that document and just put a period at the end.
Or
and
you
then
can
run it
even
through a
change
hash
the
again.
font, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can change anything about it. If anything is changed, it doesn't matter what it is. If you double space, if you put something in bold and run it through the algorithm again, it will completely change. The number it spits out will be different. And yeah, a lot of open source websites like Pirate Bay, just a bunch of like APK websites, stuff like that. They'll have a hash that comes with the file that you can double check if you run a hash algorithm on the file that you just downloaded, and you can make sure that they actually match to make sure that nothing's been changed in between.
Oh, I know 7-Zip, they actually include some hashing for like SHA. So
Oh, really?
like
Okay.
right now, like how like when you right click on a file, 7-Zip pops up.
Yeah, yeah.
Underneath that, it says CRC space SHA,
Okay.
and you can do that and click SHA 256, SHA 1. There's some other CRC things. I don't know too much about CRC, but it just depends. A lot of websites they either use SHA 256 or MD5,
Yeah.
and those are probably the most used hashing algorithms. And
Yeah.
and there's
Pretty
stuff you can download if you look it up.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of programs.
Yeah, it's really useful just for gauging the authenticity of what you're downloading or providing that authenticity to other people. So if you upload files to the internet and for whatever reason, if you just want to make sure that people are getting what they download, you can put that on there just kind of as a safety net saying, hey, this is the file, I ran the hash. Once you download it, check the hash, and then you'll know, you'll be able to trust what you downloaded is actually from you.
Obviously it just depends on how paranoid you are.
Yeah.
If you do it for everything, that's amazing. But obviously, some websites don't include the SHA,
Yeah.
or the hash, I should say, from themselves. But like Monero, after this happened, they advise all users to check their hashes of their binaries, make sure that it's the right one, and delete the files if they don't match. They changed where they're hosting their software from their website to a trusted third party, so that way you can still download the real one. They still don't know the hacker, and they're investigating the incident. But really, that's all for this Monero story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good that they're doing that. I mean, that is one thing with cryptocurrency. I think a lot of people, I think there's two types of people when it comes to cryptocurrency, because a lot of people think that this will become the future, right? They think that it'll become cryptocurrency. We won't be using, like dollar bills anymore or anything like that. And I think there's two like camps. There's people who don't know enough about it, and that kind of scares them, and they don't trust it. And there's people who do know a lot about it and know that there is vulnerabilities in it. So I would definitely say if you don't know a lot about cryptocurrency, just look up a few articles, or maybe we can do a podcast about cryptocurrencies in the future.
Well, I just want to state that this isn't a flaw in their like blockchain technology. It's just that someone was able to get a hold of their website and upload a malicious wallet. So
But, I mean, that is still a problem.
Because everything
though.
else Monero's doing, as far as we know, is still sound. So I don't want people thinking from your comment that Monero's messed up.
No. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing we brought up before with it's not what you implement, it's how you implement it. You can have the strongest encryption, but if you implement it crappily, it's it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm kind of in that camp of I understand cryptocurrency enough to the point that I don't want that to be the future, basically. I mean, I trust blockchain technology and everything like that, but I don't trust how it's implemented. I don't trust case in point with this. I don't want that to happen. Like, I don't know.
It's just a wallet, man. I hope you know that.
Listen. All right. I would rather have it in front of me, in my pocket.
Oh, you want that money?
Exactly. Give me that
All right.
dollar billia in my wallet. I don't freaking care if I'm the only one that has the freaking passcode for my crypto wallet. I don't care.
Well, it is kind of scary when you think about it, like how everything is becoming digital.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of inevitable. Like 97% of all like money in the world is already digital. Like it's just ones and zeros in a computer.
Yeah, true.
And I definitely don't trust the current finance. Like we saw with Capital One and all that. Like
Yes.
I don't trust them like with that. I'd rather trust cryptocurrency because at least it has some because it has the hashes and all that stuff. That's why it's crypto. It's the cryptographic.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Like when you actually read the white paper on Bitcoin, like it's super in depth and it's like incredibly hard. Like there's only one attack I know of. It's called the 51% attack.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, if you control 51% of the miners, you can manipulate the network. Like you can double spend coins and stuff like that.
Oh,
But just think about how much computing power that takes, though. Like we have so many miners.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't know. I don't know. I think there's a lot of like small things that would have to change for me to completely trust like going full cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Because even though you said most of our money's digital right now, it's still not cryptocurrency. You're not investing in a cryptocurrency. It's still currency, normal currency. Even though it's ones and zeros, but I don't really trust the banks either.
I think we should have a different podcast, kind of just discussing cryptocurrency because this can get super derailed real quick.
That's true.
Keep talking about this.
It's true. We'll have a separate conversation about this at a future date. But here's some better news, I guess. A story of a government actually doing something good for once. So this is I'm talking, of course, about the California Consumer Privacy Act. So the CCPA. This is a bill that was introduced in 2018 in California. It was actually enacted in California, but doesn't take effect until January 1st, 2020, which is why we're going over this, because it's about to actually be imposed. So the CCPA confers new privacy rights for consumers and imposes corresponding obligations on businesses subject to it. So I'm just going to read through parts of the bill. I condensed it to 3 main points, and I'm going to explain what each point actually means. The rights conferred to consumers include the right to know what personal information businesses are collecting about consumers and how that information is being used and shared. The right to delete personal information held by businesses, the right to stop the sale of personal information by businesses, and the right to non-discrimination in service and price when exercising privacy rights. So these 3 main points, they're a little wordy. Obviously, it's a bill. It's like a 50-page long bill. I went through the whole thing along with their supporting documents, and I condensed it all to like 3 pages. So I'm just going to go over those. So to explain the first thing that I just went over, basically every person has the right to know what a business knows about them and should have the option to instruct any business that they have to destroy any data that they have about them and that they can't sell that data to other companies without the fear of that business punishing them for basically exercising their rights to do so. So this is pretty huge. Like, from what I've seen, it's pretty unprecedented. I know Europe has like the GDPR. They have their own like privacy rights bills that they're going off of, and some companies have kind of adopted that. I know YouTube was fined for it because they went against it in the European Union when they were stealing data from kids or whatever they're doing, and Yeah. So that's the first point. That was like the first synopsis of the first couple pages of the bill that I condensed down. So this is the second point. The California legislature stated the need for enhanced consumer privacy rights in its findings, noting that although California has been a leader in privacy protection, the law has not kept pace with rapid technological developments and the proliferation of personal information that fuels the internet economy. As a result, consumers are largely unable to control or even understand the collection and use of their personal data by a myriad of businesses and organizations. The legislation further describes some of the consequences of the lack of adequate privacy laws. Quote, the unauthorized disclosure of personal information and the loss of privacy can have devastating effects for individuals, ranging from financial fraud, identity theft, and unnecessary costs, to personal time and finances, to destruction of property, harassment, reputation damage, emotional stress, and even potential physical harm. So again, I understand it's a little wordy, just bear with me. So
Well, that actually kind of sounds good because they made it like consumers can't actually understand, because when you look at those terms and conditions of any
yes,
website or service,
they're intentionally written to confuse you.
well, and plus they're just pages long.
Yeah.
I think don't quote me on this. I want to say I read an article where like 3 lawyers sat down and actually read through Facebook's like a terms of service, and it took them over a week, if I remember correctly.
Jeez. So yeah, that would be changed. They has to be easily, like, to the average reader, the average consumer. That has to be their target. Like, that person should be able to read your terms and conditions and know exactly what you're doing with their data. So to explain what I just read, that big chunk, if you yeah, it's a little wordy, as I said. So if you couldn't follow, businesses do not have good enough. Do not do a good enough job clearly stating what personal data they have and how they use it, since this data is used for profit, and the law has not kept up with this issue by providing protection to internet users. So that's basically a condensed version of a couple pages and then further condensed into an explanation. But yeah, I definitely agree with John. This is huge. This is going to change how a lot of businesses run. And they also go over that in the future as well, about how this is going to affect businesses. It definitely definitely does. So the third thing that I have here is how this benefits the user. So this is kind of the last portion of the bill, along with some supporting documents as well. And I'll read through this sentence and then give an explanation afterwards, and then some bits and pieces after that. So, the increased individual control over personal information granted by the law and specific in the regulations can also protect consumers from some abuses of that information, such as discrimination, harassment, and fraud. In the very tangible case of identity theft, a recent study found that the total out-of-pocket cost to victims in 2018 was collectively $1.7 billion. That was by the Javelin Strategy and Research. Privacy is one of the inalienable rights conferred on Californians by the state constitution. The CCPA enumerates specific privacy rights in giving consumers greater control over their personal information. The CCPA, operationalized by these regulations, mitigates the asymmetry of knowledge and power between individuals and businesses. This benefits not only the individual, but also society as a whole. The empowerment of individuals to exercise their rights is particularly important for a democracy, which values and depends on the autonomy of the individuals who constitute it. So, in explanation, so what this basically means is that the cost of rampant identity theft is highly damaging to any individual affected, and that every person governed by the Constitution of California has every right to and should have full control over any personal data about them. So it's basically what that was saying. I had no idea freaking out-of-pocket cost for identity theft was that high. I mean, 1.7 billion. That's huge. But I'm not really surprised. So anyway, this is collectively this is the ISOR, the initial statement of reasons that California came out with about why they're enacting the CCPA. So they went through every single freaking reason of why they think that this should be a law. It already got voted in 2018, and now they're implementing it this January 2020. So businesses have had plenty of time to comply with what this does. So In the initial statement of reasons, or ISOR, goes on to say that businesses must respond within 10 days to any request by a user to know what data the business has. So they can't just, and this also goes for requests for deletion. So you can't, just write an email or whatever to a company or call them up and be like, hey, I want to know what data you have. And they're like, oh, yeah. And it just kind of gets filed away and forgotten about. They have to respond. Otherwise, they will be held responsible fiscally. So the CCPA also instructs that businesses must have an option clearly posted for users to opt out of any data collection. So just initially, from being collected or sold for up to 12 months. And this process will not be so complicated that cannot be easily followed. Specifically, the business must provide an option that reflects how the business usually interacts with customers. This is to stop companies from making the process more difficult by having the only option be showing up in person or having you mail in dozens of forms, which obviously most people would find difficult and frustrating to comply with, which is another huge thing because a lot of companies make it very, very difficult for you to, obviously they run off of this. As it stated earlier in this is how the internet economy functions. Right now, it's functioning off of data. I mean, data mining and selling data is huge. It's rampant. That's how these businesses get money. And they're saying that obviously they're going to make it as difficult as possible for that, for you to stop them from doing that. So they're saying they have to do it based on the usual interactions they have with companies. So if this is a online company, they have to have a portion of their website dedicated for you to opt out. If they're if they're a brick and mortar store, they might have you come in because that's how they interact with customers. So it has to be in a channel that customers would easily be able to comply with. So one thing that comes to mind is, I don't know if you remember, John, the clearinghouse contests. You remember those?
No, actually I don't.
Okay, I forgot what was it, the Westing Clearinghouse or something like that. They were basically
like the lottos.
The mail-in lotto things. And I knew people who tried doing that, and it was just, you would send in the letter thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna send in this form and I'll be entered for the drawing. No, you send in the form, and then they send you another form, and you fill out that, and then they send you another one, and you have to buy this little thing to be entered, and they send you. It just went on forever. Basically.
Yeah, I tried it one time, and
yeah, it doesn't work out.
Sending me spam emails. I had to unsubscribe from 20 different mailing lists.
Exactly.
And I was $10,000 is not worth this.
Exactly. They just basically give you the runaround to try to get as much information out of you as possible. So yeah, it was freaking ridiculous. So also the CCPA also states that businesses cannot knowingly sell information about anyone under the age of 13. YouTube. And it even makes it clear that users from 13 to 16 have to give express consent for any of their data to even be collected or sold in the first place. So that's another pretty big thing, because until now, I believe 13 is the limit, even under the COPA or COPPA or whatever, however it's pronounced, that New York law that protects children, or that New York fined freaking YouTube for. Because YouTube apparently just loves stealing kids' data. But 13 is basically the limit. So this is stating this even extends to 13 to 16-year-olds to the point that they have to give express consent. So they can't just automatically be collecting data from these kids. They have to give express consent that, yes, their data can be collected and sold. This next section is how this will impact businesses. And I'm also going to add, Microsoft has already stated that they are going to comply with this across the board. It doesn't matter where they're headquartered at. They're going to comply with this at across Microsoft, which is ginormous because Microsoft's a multi-billion-dollar company, and hopefully other companies will follow suit with this. However, this does have a huge impact to companies. As I said, and as stated earlier in this in the CCPA, the internet right now, businesses run off of selling data. So there were a couple of different ways that they calculated the impact to businesses. So one approach to estimating the value of consumers' personal information was to carry out experiments where participants were given options to pay different prices for different levels of privacy protection. So basically gauging it off of what would the user pay to protect their data. Using this approach, one experiment found that consumers assigned $1.19 to $4.05 of value per app to personal information collected by smartphone apps. This value also changed depending on if the person was pregnant, married, had recently purchased a vehicle, etc., because the potential for targeted ads was then available. Scaling this up to the approximate number of apps downloaded by Californians in 2017 suggests that the aggregate value of consumers' privacy information in the app marketplace, so just the app marketplace, is between $1.6 and $5.4 billion. So huge. There's a huge market. The Financial Times used a metric based on how much businesses were willing to pay for a user's data and found the value to be closer to $9.7 billion. As for data used for intrusive, more personally targeted ads, so this is information used for ads that are specific to you, in California alone was over $12 billion annually for that data. Insane. But this doesn't affect all businesses. So in case you're like a little pop-up, mom and pop startup company or something like that, businesses are only subject to the CCPA if one or the more following are true. The business has a gross annual revenue in excess of $25 million, sells the personal information of 50,000 or more customers, households and devices included, or 50% or more of their annual revenue from selling consumers' personal information. If any of those are, if one or more of those are true, then this will affect that company, the CCPA. So due to the preliminary estimates, suggests a total of 467 million to over 16 million in costs to comply with the regulation. That's basically what it's going to cost for companies to comply with this. So pretty big. For anyone who follows internet privacy, they may, as I mentioned before, they may notice that the CCPA it strongly resembles the GDPR, which is the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation. But they are very different, and they do have different requirements. This one is pretty hefty, as far as I could tell. So as I said, Microsoft is leading the way on this one, saying that they will. Julie Brill, Microsoft's Chief Privacy Officer, said that the company will extend the main principles of the CCPA across the U.S., just as they did with the Europeans' version of this, the GDPR, last year. So, after all that, if you do want to comment on this, not with us, but actually comment on this, the draft regulations are out for public comment until December 6th. So you can actually go to this website. It's the oag.ca.gov. I'll obviously put a link to it in the description of this episode. But you can go there and actually make a public comment about it. So whether you agree with it, disagree with it, during the comment period, the Attorney General will also be holding public hearings through December 2nd through December 5th everywhere in California. So Sacramento, LA, San Fran, and Fresno, a bunch of places in California. And you can also look those up at that same website if you want to actually be in person and have a hearing with the Attorney General and make your opinion known. So yeah, this is huge. This is going to affect a lot of businesses, especially since freaking Silicon Valley is right there. This is going to affect a lot of businesses, and as Microsoft is already implementing this and has promised that they're going to follow this, that's kind of a big push for other companies to do the same. Just like with the right to repair that we talked about earlier, where it started in one state and then it was eventually accepted either federally, or it was just kind of an unspoken rule that it was accepted between these companies. Either way, this is kind of a huge deal. So.
Sounds like a huge deal. I know a lot of companies you can actually see what they're like getting on you. Like one time, there's a way you can go to it on Google, mm-hmm. and you can see like all this stuff it collects on you. Like even like the snippets. Like if you're like, hey Google, what is pi? Mm-hmm. It actually records that audio, and you can listen to yourself asking those questions,
which is very creepy.
No, it is creepy. And then I know Spotify has the same thing. You can go
Hmm.
in there and request your data. I think they say give it 10 business days or something,
Yeah, yeah. A
if I
lot of
remember
businesses do
correctly.
have that option. I forgot what site. I think it was Discord that I requested because I was trying to find some link that we had shared a while ago. So I just requested all my data, and there, sure enough, like all the links were in there, all your messages, all your conversations, anything you recorded off of Discord, that was all saved on their server. So it's pretty crazy.
So I'm curious to know, like, does this prevent? Well, does this allow companies like, oh, if you don't agree to our data collection and selling your data, we don't have to offer you our service.
So that, as I stated in that first block, the right to non-discrimination is embedded in this bill. So you cannot, for exercising your rights to not have them collect data on you, or for you asking them to delete your data, they cannot discriminate in services or price.
Huh.
So they cannot say, "Oh, you didn't comply with this. You're not letting us sell your data. So screw you. You can find another company." They, according to this bill, from what I'm reading here, I mean, unless someone, I don't know if there's any lawyers listening or anything that have a more in-depth explanation of what this actually means. But to me, this says, I mean, it says right there, to quote, and the right to non-discrimination in service and price when exercising privacy rights. So as far as I can tell, they cannot like deny you service solely based on that. Now I don't know if they'd be able to get around that by saying whatever. I'm sure they'll find loopholes in this somehow, but
Hmm.
to me it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was wondering because I could totally see in Facebook being like, "Oh, you don't want us to collect your information. Now we're gonna just not offer you our service."
Yeah, yes, I I could definitely see that as well. Mark Zuckerberg could definitely I could see him doing that. Great job, team. But in case everyone hasn't noticed, I don't really like the founder of Facebook. Um, co-founder, actually, he had help. Um, but yeah, I thought of that as well because there are like certain apps and stuff that they always pop up with an ad and they're like, "Oh, tired of ads? Just buy our app." And it's like, well, no. Um, or are you tired of ads? Like, give us access to your contacts, and then you won't have ads anymore. Like I've seen that as well, and it's
Oh,
like,
really?
yes,
I have not
and
seen that one before.
yes, there's actually a game I have right now that I play with a brother-in-law of mine, and it says on there every time you try to like remove ads or something like that, it says it has you agree basically to their like usage policy, saying that they will collect your data and they will access like your contacts and stuff, and that will be used for targeted ads. And I was
Hmm.
like, that's not good.
It's a little sketch.
Yeah, and it doesn't let you X out of it either. You have to actually close the app and reload it for it to go back to the main screen. So little fishy. So some already super fishy things. Obviously, we know we're already be done, but that's pretty blatant. But yeah, it's a crazy world out there. So hopefully this will kind of settle things down. I mean, I was also concerned with what businesses are going to do now to make money. I mean, $12 billion in California alone, like that's a lot of money. I don't know what companies are going to do once this goes into effect. So I am kind of concerned because if you put so much regulation and constrictions on businesses or on a certain field, you're going to start losing interest in that field. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I don't know. Like, I don't know if everything's just going to be, then you have to pay for it because they have to make up the money somehow. Because, I mean, the only reason Facebook is free, I know I crap on Facebook a lot, but I understand why they collect data. I mean, there are obviously more ethical ways to make money. Freaking DuckDuckGo does it all the time. But I understand why they collect people's data because the app is free. The whole website's free. They have to pay for it somehow. Nothing, the money has to come from somewhere. Nothing is truly free. So I understand why he collects data, but yeah, I'm not sure what they're gonna do
Well,
after this goes into
I think they
effect.
can still sell ad space, like it just won't be like super targeted. I imagine
Yeah,
it'd just be kind of like if you watch cable, like you get all kinds of random ads, even though like you don't meet the demographic that'd be most acceptable.
Yeah, that's
susceptible.
definitely true, and they're not. I mean, they're semi-targeted, I guess, because like you don't see the same ads in like the inner city as you do, on the coast. You know what I mean? Like you have different. There are different ads based on demographics and stuff like that. There is still going to be marketing involved. Obviously, there's been marketing for hundreds of years, and it's done pretty well. Like they know they know what certain people want in certain areas. So yeah, it just won't be super. You whisper about a movie in your sleep, and then all of a sudden it's on your Amazon the next day. Like it just won't be that targeted.
Yeah, because I remember, who I forget which company it was, but this teenage girl got pregnant, and
Oh
she
yes,
started getting ads for like diapers and stuff like
yes,
that.
yep. From
And
Target, that's Target.
oh, it was Target. Yeah, that's right. And then her
Ironically,
parents were furious and like, "Why are you sending this to our kid? Like, what are you trying to say?" And then like
hmm
after their parents had a conversation with a teenage girl, they're like, "We apologize, Target. You obviously knew something we didn't know." Um,
yes,
and I was like, "Wow!" Like she didn't even tell her parents, and Target was able to discern just from certain patterns that she was pregnant. And
that is insane.
hmm
I read that as well, and that was, I don't know. It made me chuckle, but it does kind of bring to light just how quote unquote personalized these ads are. Like they basically just stalk you around your daily life to be able to feed you ads that they think you would want.
hmm
Like it's kind of crazy when you think about it.
super crazy.
But yeah, I don't know. I am glad at the end of the day. I'm glad that this is a thing. I'm glad that the states are, even if this isn't a federal law, at least the states are kind of realizing that, hey, this is an issue, and if this isn't, I mean, kind of nipped in the bud, because it is a pretty new thing, selling people's data for like targeted ads and stuff like that. As far as specific as these things are, obviously, as I said, marketing has been a thing for hundreds of years, and it always will be. But stuff this specific, like recording you talking in your home, and then giving you ads the next day, like that's pretty. It's a pretty new concept, that I definitely think should be should be nipped in the bud, because that's not good. I think everyone can agree, except for these companies, that this isn't good.
Yeah, speaking of Facebook, we can roll into everyone's favorite app by them called WhatsApp.
Oh
Um,
yes, I love that app. Just kidding. It's
so,
trash.
so WhatsApp they quietly patched this vulnerability they had that
hmm
allowed attackers to remotely compromise targeted devices and potentially steal secured chat messages and files stored on them.
hmm
This was discovered, and there's a CVE for it. It's a CVE 2019-11931.
hmm
If you really want to look into all the technicals and nitty gritty, um, but it's a stack-based buffer overflow that resides in previous versions of WhatsApp. But basically, if you were to open an MP4
hmm
file, certain ways it parses the metadata, it can result in either denial of service or remote code execution attacks.
Oh wow. Okay.
So all the attackers need is just your phone number, and then they send you this malicious MP4 file over WhatsApp, and then which eventually can be programmed to install a backdoor or spyware app on the compromised device silently without the user's information, like knowing of it.
Is this similar to what we talked about last episode, or is this a different vulnerability?
So in the article, they did say some mentionings of the NSO group, but
Okay.
it wasn't. Um, it didn't say the NSO group used this.
Okay. So maybe they're just using the same vulnerability as NSO is using
Yeah,
for the
maybe.
whole backdoor thing.
It
Maybe.
doesn't really state like it just I think the article is just like this is kind of interesting seeing like Facebook started suing the NSO group.
Oh yeah.
What was
Yeah.
it just
True.
2 weeks ago or something
Yeah.
like that?
hmm
So if you have it on, and this affects like all devices. This isn't just a specific version. So Android, iOS, enterprise clients, Windows phones, and even the business versions for Android and iOS.
Hmm.
So as long as you get the most up to date file, I mean the most up to date WhatsApp, you should be good. And they do claim that they have not seen any of this being used in the wild, but
Well, the
I'm always
NSO
kind of
they did.
skeptical.
The
Yeah.
NSO stuff they did, but this, yeah, because it sounds more like a phishing attack, because you have to open up a MP4, right?
Well, see, I'm curious because in the article it mentions so I noticed this with my WhatsApp. Unfortunately, I have it on my phone
Mm-hmm.
just because of certain groups. I really hate it, and but so WhatsApp will actually like download. Well, they'll automatically download unless you disable it, image
Yes.
and
Yep.
audio and video files.
Oh, so you're saying if they send it to you, the auto download could trigger this?
That's what it's. They don't specifically state that in the article, but they said you should update your app and disable that. So I believe that auto download can trigger it
Oh,
just because it can parse the
dang.
metadata.
Yeah, yeah, because obviously if it downloads it, it's obviously taking in whatever it sent.
Hmm.
Shoot. Okay. Yeah, that's freaking crazy. Yeah, I got WhatsApp off my phone a while ago.
Good thing it's a phone I really don't care about. I got multiple phones. Where
Yeah,
you at,
true, true.
Kevin Gates? I gotta. but
Freaking Jason Bourne over here with his burner phones.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, don't tell the feds. Don't tell the
Oh yeah,
feds.
yeah, yeah. I keep it on the DL.
Yeah. So right here it says a spokesperson from WhatsApp confirmed that this vulnerability was not exploited in the wild to target users. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it's the same thing as the NSO group. Like
Sounds different.
it sounds slightly different, but I don't know why the article is mentioning that
Maybe
because it
they
doesn't
just
really have any details.
maybe there's they're just saying, hey, there was this vulnerability before the Facebook suing NSO over. Here's another one that we found. Maybe that's like they're just trying to connect them.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on.
Because yeah, it
But
doesn't sound like the NSO thing. Because they did hack like 1,400 people. So
yeah, but another reason not to use WhatsApp, everyone.
yes, please delete WhatsApp. It's trash. And they may
Hell, use
secure it now until they get freaking hacked again, which they have like 15 times.
use something else. Use Omegle if you really need to, or something like. Don't even
Use Omegle.
look something besides WhatsApp. Like
Freaking
it's getting a little.
Omegle.
Every time I research articles for the podcast, it's like WhatsApp. WhatsApp got hacked again. WhatsApp has this bug. And
I
I'm
mean,
like,
he's
oh
not
my
wrong. Honestly, like freaking ChatterBait would probably be more secure than WhatsApp at this point.
I mean, use OkCupid's like text section or something. Like,
Get all your family on a dating app and just use that. It'd probably be more secure.
well, and that's the weird thing
Oh
is
my
because
word.
doesn't WhatsApp like pride themselves in like their end-to-end encryption and all that? Like,
Yeah, that was like their big selling point when they first came out. They were like, "Yeah, we got end-to-end encryption." Like, because they had this other what was one of the first apps that had that? I think it was called Wicker. Was it Wicker?
oh yeah, I
That
think
was like
so.
one of the first ones that had disappearing messages, right? And Wicker was like, yeah, we have end-to-end encryption, which I think was implemented crappily. I'm trying to remember what actually they used because they're not really a thing anymore. But they were like one of the first, right? There was probably stuff before them, but they were the popular one. People were downloading Wicker. It had disappearing messages. It even showed up on a few TV shows at the time that people were using it for like like spies and stuff like that. And then freaking WhatsApp came out, and WhatsApp was like, boom, we got the same thing except it looks nice. And it obviously was owned by freaking Facebook, and they're like, hey, we got end-to-end encryption, it looks pretty, it's got emojis, blah blah blah, you can use it just like any other thing. And everyone loved it until they kept on getting hacked. And then obviously Signal came out, and that's kind of the top of the line right now.
Well, this kind of sounds very similar to stage fright. I don't know if if you remember what that was.
It sounds familiar, but I don't
So
remember.
basically, stage fright was a thing. It was just in the like SMS messages on like Android phones. You
Hmm.
could send an MP4 file to them, and if it was a malicious crafted MP4, it could kind of do the same remote code execution and stuff on your Android phone.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I don't know if they use the same method. I didn't actually delve into the CVEs and all that,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
but I just know when I was reading it, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, no, I'd have to look that up again. I don't really remember all the details of that. I mean, it's not really that hard, I guess, to even if you have end-to-end encryption, right? If you're using Signal and someone sends you a malicious link, right? It's not going to protect you. It's just from outside sources. End-to-end encryption, true end-to-end encryption that's actually implemented properly, will protect you from outside sources.
Well, I
From
think that's
hacking
part of
in.
the big deal is like WhatsApp does automatically download these files to your
Yes.
phone.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what is making this as big as what it is. Because I know Signal, you have to choose to download it, and if you choose to download something from someone you don't know, that's your own fault. You know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's my point. Like if it's not going to protect you from viruses if someone sends you a virus. Like obviously only open messages and download media from people you trust and people you know or numbers you trust. Obviously, yeah. Don't turn on the auto download thing. Just as a tip. I mean, for anything really. Like I don't even have it on my Facebook. I have on your Facebook Messenger. You can turn on data saver. I think it's called now.
Yeah.
And that won't automatically download media, which I think is it's just a just in case type of thing. Just in case someone does send something malicious, it doesn't automatically just download it and put it on your phone's cache.
Well, I just know if I was WhatsApp, like I'd be paying third party auditors and pen testers and stuff like that to like analyze everything. Because if you are trying to say you're like a secure messaging app and everything, you really don't want all this negative press. Because this is what
Yeah.
the third or fourth time we talked about WhatsApp and the few episodes we have made.
Yes. Yes, and that's just us. That's not how many times they've been compromised.
It's just a little ridiculous if you ask me.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And for them to continue to say, yes, we're secure, use us, over anything else, I think I don't know, I think that's false advertising. I mean, the amount of times that they've been compromised, they're obviously not doing, they're not doing it right. But I don't know. I mean, if they end up fixing everything and they are, good as, Signal or something like that, and they don't get hacked anymore and there's not glaring vulnerabilities found in their stuff, then sure. I mean, fine. If you want to use that, go ahead and use it. But as right now, I would not use WhatsApp at all.
And I don't know if WhatsApp's just targeted because more people have it. Maybe that's why there's so many of these bugs and vulnerabilities coming out. But
Yeah, that could very well be a thing. I mean, as I said, right now they're the popular end-to-end encryption messaging service. I know Telegram or Telegraph, they're pretty popular, but it's not super mainstream. Like people know what WhatsApp is. Like anyone knows what WhatsApp is, even if they don't have it. So it's just kind of a household name at this point. So they're kind of the top downloaded one currently. But yeah, I would stay away from it.
I feel like some of the other heat is they are owned by Facebook, and Facebook has tons of money. Like
Yes.
you think they would just put maybe just a little bit. Like everything is gonna have a vulnerability once in a while, and like it's kind of be expected. Like nothing's perfect, but just when you have so many resources and it's this rampant, like I think that's really the big problem.
Yeah. And they don't even have to put a ton of money into this. All that would require is, like you said, 10 grand. Put 10 grand on the line and be like, hey, find bugs in our service. We'll pay you 10 grand if you find any bugs. I mean, they probably be out a lot of money because it probably has a ton of bugs. But but still, like it wouldn't even cost them a lot of money to just secure this thing. So it just, I don't know. It just makes me feel like they don't really care about this since they're not doing anything.
Well, speaking of bug bounties, like how we were talking about OnePlus, they made their bug bounty, and a bunch of these other companies that get compromised, they release a bug bounty program
Yeah.
afterwards. It's actually a good thing. Like I was watching, I don't know if it was Motherboard or Vice, but this guy was like a convicted felon, and for computer hacking, and he couldn't get a job because of his record. But he would just do these bug bounties, and he's actually clearing like a ton of money. Like he just does it as his full-time job. I think he cleared like 1.7 mil or something like that.
Wow.
Just over like the year or a couple of years he's been doing it.
Wow. That's not bad.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's
So
pretty
like,
good.
they're getting people who are talented at their craft, and they're just they're helping you guys out.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Bug bounties they're a pretty big deal. Like they're such an easy. Well, I don't want to say easy because there's a lot that goes into it, but it's a better option than you don't have to hire a security team. I mean, you should anyways, but you don't have to hire a whole third party group to take a look at your stuff and fix any bugs. You can literally just put out some money and say, hey, fix our stuff for us, tell us what's wrong, and then we'll give you this little stipend. Like, I mean, I know plenty of people that would pen test a freaking app for a couple grand. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's such
It was Bloomberg. My bad. It was Bloomberg.
Bloomberg. Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I just see it as a win-win for everyone. Like if you just put out a bug bounty thing, I don't know why more companies don't do this.
Yeah, me neither. I strongly recommend any company who has like a significant cyber, like just a web internet face.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say is to implement some kind of bug bounty program. You can, like I said, you can partner with what Bug Crowd and HackerOne, stuff like that. Like they kind of like they have all this stuff set up for you, so all you have to do is just kind of sign up with them,
Yeah.
and you can be a part of these bug bounty programs and help make it like to the masses be known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I definitely think it's a good thing.
We can talk about this story. It's just kind of funny, but
Mm-hmm.
basically, we'll kind of give a little synopsis, and then we'll talk into some of the details. But a company got hacked and did not realize it for years until the hacker maxed out the server's storage space.
The Capital One.
Oh no. It's this Utah-based technology company called InfoTrax,
Okay.
and it was been breached more than 20 times between 2014 until March 2016. And
Jeez.
even reading the article makes it sound like there's a few after 2016. Um, but like I said, they only detected the breach after they received an alert saying maximum storage capacity has been reached, um, due to the archive file the hacker was making on the server.
Oh goodness.
And it's kind of a big deal. This InfoTrax, even though it's not a huge company, it provides like back end operation systems to like multi-level marketers, which includes a lot of sensitive data of users.
Yeah.
Based off of like just different like inventory and accounting and orders and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the breach occurred in May 2014 when the hacker exploited vulnerabilities in their server and its client's website to gain remote control over the server. He was allowed to gain access to sensitive personal information of 1 million consumers.
Jeez.
There was an FTC complaint that the hacker remotely accessed the system over 17 times over the next 21 months without being detected and began pulling personal information of consumers. The stolen information includes full names, social security numbers, physical addresses, email addresses, telephone numbers, usernames, and passwords from some of the 4,100 distributors and admin accounts on the InfoTrax service.
Jeez.
So
this is one person, the hacker?
that's what it sounds like. They didn't implicate any specific person or.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, they probably don't want to release that right now.
But it just says the hacker. It doesn't say the hacker, so it does sound singular.
True.
On how the article's written.
Jeez.
Apparently, on March 14, 2016, the hacker harvested over 2,300 unique full payment card numbers, including names, addresses, CVVs, expiration dates, and other billing data from newly submitted by distributors during the checkout process. And then then again, the hacker used the ID and password of other distributor accounts to upload more malicious code to collect even more credit card data from the client's website again.
Wow.
So I didn't know you could file FTC complaints against company, but according to the FTC, InfoTrax failed to inventory and delete personal information and is no longer needed. And to conduct code review of its software and testing of its network, detect malicious file uploads, and adequately segment its network and implement cybersecurity safeguards to detect unusual activity of its network.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like it's and this was over years of this happening. It's extremely ridiculous. It just kind of shows you like kind of how
Jeez.
negligent some companies are.
Yeah, for that, I don't know. I don't run a company or anything, so I don't know how this. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you own a company, especially when you have freaking credit card numbers and the freaking CVV, the code on the back to make purchases with the freaking credit card on your server,
Well,
you're
this even
storing
said
this stuff.
it even said social security numbers too.
Yeah,
So like,
exactly. Like all this data, and you don't hire anyone to look over your logs or to look over your servers or like.
or
And if you are
maybe
hiring
they
them,
weren't adequately staffed. You know, like there could be a bunch of other factors, but like
trash.
if you don't implement like the money, like if, especially when you're dealing with this kind of sensitive information.
Yeah, just if you have that level of information on millions of people, why aren't you like doing more to protect this or hiring an actual team that can actually go through this and audit your systems or something like that? Because I mean, even with Capital One, I mean, yeah, it was like over 100 days before they freaking found out that they got hacked, but at least they brought in someone who audited the system and was like, oh yeah, this isn't supposed to be here, like this login isn't supposed to be here. Like I don't know. It's freaking crazy. And even Capital One, I mean, obviously it was a good Samaritan that ended up bringing it up. But at least they brought someone in to like audit all their systems. Like, why don't companies do this? They have so much information on everyone.
Yeah, so like apparently that there's a proposed settlement for InfoTrax where they have to implement a comprehensive data security program that corrects all the failures identified in the complaint, and they also have to obtain third-party assessments of its information security program every 2 years.
So stuff they should have been doing anyways.
Exactly.
Great. Goodness gracious.
I'm surprised they're not getting fined or anything. You'd imagine like a
Well, if anyone's affected, I'm sure they'll sue them of some civil lawsuit.
yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I think there should be like more repercussions for companies if you're just throwing around information willy nilly like that. And
Yeah, I know we brought this up before, but I definitely agree. Like there should be a lot harsher punishments for this. Like with the YouTube thing, we see that as a huge deal because it's millions of dollars that they got fined for pillaging kids' data, and but to them that's nothing. And this was brought up in Congress. They said, yeah, YouTube got fined for this, but they made like 10 times more over the next quarter. Like it doesn't matter to them. And yeah, they complied and stuff like that, but did they really learn anything? Aren't they just going to try to get around it at some point anyways?
I bet someone got fired.
I mean, probably someone got fired. I mean, they didn't say anything, so I don't know if someone actually did. But like, I don't know. This isn't teaching these companies anything. Yeah, you scrape a little, a couple million off the top of their earnings, but does that really do anything? I don't think it does much of anything. People still use them. People still use their website. Like they're not in the red or anything. They're still just kind of doing whatever they want. So I don't know. It just, especially when it's something that they should have been doing anyways, like this company. They should have been having audits anyways. They should have had a team, looking at their servers anyways. That should have been something that they were doing, and they're not. And the punishment is, oh, now we're just gonna make you do what you should have been doing anyways. Like that, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm just glad to see something is happening.
I'm glad too, but it's not enough.
No, I agree. I
don't know. I'm sorry. I get angry about this.
I can feel your blood pressure rising across the microphone.
It's just like, just looking into all this stuff. It happens way too often. I just don't understand. Like what? I mean, and that's why I was really excited for this the CCPA, this California privacy law, just because this does so much. Like it would hold companies accountable, not only fiscally, but also it is an actual law, and it's actually written in a way. Like I read the whole bill, and I understood like everything in the bill. Like it all made sense. Like once you break everything down, it makes sense logically. And I really appreciate that. It's not just some, stupid law that like corrects one symptom but doesn't actually correct the problem. The symptom is companies doing whatever they want and losing data and selling whatever they want. The issue is that this is how the internet economy runs. They run off of people's data. They're fueled. These companies that provide free services and stuff like Facebook. They could easily do that otherwise, but they want more money, so they're fueled by pillaging people's data and selling it to the highest bidder. And who the hell knows who that is? So it's just, I don't know. I'm really glad for like laws like that are actually being implemented that kind of steer the future of internet-based companies in a better direction.
Saying if you want, we could talk about something else. There's that whole Cybertruck in the news.
The cyber what?
The Cybertruck from Tesla.
Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. The freaking thing looks like it was in Roblox. Jeez. Now, I will say, I don't really mind the design. However.
Wait, you actually want to talk about this?
I mean, if you want to go into this, I'll go into this because I
just feel like you get a little heated sometimes when all we talk about is security stories and everything.
No, I definitely do. This is something I am passionate about. Yeah. But anyway, it's my it's my instilled sense of justice gets a little enraged. Yeah, with the freaking Tesla truck. The only problem I have with it, actually, there's two problems. One, kind of the only reason that they made this thing was to kind of give the middle finger to other car manufacturers that were saying that Tesla could not compete with them in the SUV and truck category, because obviously anything that Tesla makes is always a car. It's always been a car, and they don't really quite have the technology to make a viable SUV. And obviously Musk was like, oh, I can do it anyways, screw you. So they made this freaking truck, and I just don't think it's that good as far as like seeing the inside and just like the designs of it. Again, I don't mind the aesthetics. The aesthetics don't really bother me. Like, whatever. It looks like a Mars rover, but whatever. But it just, I don't think it's there. I think he just made a prototype just to stroke his own ego. And then he was like, oh yeah, this unbreakable glass could, if you're driving through the hood, it could stop a freaking 9mm. And then some guy just throws a random metal ball and it spider webs the window. And he's like, oh, maybe that was a little too hard. How fast do you think a freaking bullet travels at? Goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that I had some issues with that, but overall I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but I definitely think I love all the memes, like the Tomb Raider memes. You see like the PS1
Yes.
polygon, and
Yes.
like they should have added more polygons.
Or the car you drew in first grade comes to life.
I do think it's interesting. It has a ton of towing capacity. Like, it's absolutely.
So they say.
Yeah, so they say.
They said a lot of stuff about it that hasn't been proven yet. I mean, they said the glass was bulletproof, and we all know that's not true.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I know a lot of people were saying like certain things about it aren't up to spec, like the steering wheel. Like, you cannot legally sell something like that steering wheel.
Yes.
From what other people have said, I haven't done too much research. Just most of this is off the cuff, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was looking into it when I saw it because I was actually interested in this. I was like, oh, he made a freaking truck. Like, this is a huge leap in this technology. Because until then, they had to keep the weight down and they had to keep everything else down to make it actually viable. Otherwise, the battery would run out. And I was like, oh, I made a freaking truck. Now you can haul stuff and tow stuff. Like, they must have made some sort of breakthrough for this technology to be possible, because that wasn't possible like a year or two ago. But yeah, I don't think they're there yet. I mean, I haven't seen any solid reports saying that it actually lives up to what they say it can do. I haven't seen any testing. I haven't seen any like third-party diagnostics done on this thing to be able to say that it actually is up to snuff with other SUVs.
Didn't their stock drop like a ton?
I mean, I'm sure it did, but I mean, I'm sure as soon as that metal ball left the dude's hand, I'm pretty sure their stock dropped a bit.
Oh yeah, it dropped like over $20. Like,
Jeez.
was it 6%? It went from like $354 to 132.
Goodness gracious. I mean, that would have been a time to buy, I guess.
Oh yeah, this article from Forbes says Elon Musk's net worth falls 770 million after Tesla's botched Cybertruck.
Jeez. Goodness gracious. I mean, I'm sure they'll bounce back once I don't know, once it becomes another meme or something. I'm sure he'll bounce back from it. Just like when he smoked weed on the JRE like podcast. Their freaking stock.
He didn't even inhale. If you look at him, like he just took one little puff, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's smoking weed!"
Well, the most interesting thing about that I saw was because obviously Elon Musk is heavily tied with like the DoD, right? Mm-hmm. Like he has a bunch of clearances and stuff to be able to develop certain technologies and stuff like that. And since he smoked on there, it's federally illegal still to smoke weed. And so, like, I guess a bunch of companies were like, we have to reevaluate your clearance because you broke federal law in public. Like, there's video evidence of you breaking federal law. And so, I guess he got into a lot of trouble for that. I'm sure it didn't affect him, like, half as much as people were making it seem. But I just thought that was interesting. That was an aspect that I didn't think of. I was like, yeah, he broke federal law on basically public television, YouTube, and he has a bunch of connections and a bunch of security clearances. So yeah, I could definitely see that affecting those.
I am, seeing we're talking about Tesla, I am super interested in their Roadster. It's supposed to come out, 2020, I think.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Oh, it's crazy. So, like, they're saying it can go 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
What?
It has, like, it apparently has a top speed of over 250 miles an hour.
Wow.
It's going to have a super huge range of 620 miles, which, like, even their Model 3 and all that, I think maybe barely hit 400.
Yeah. It was struggling. It was struggling.
Which, isn't bad. Like, if you're just driving around the city and everything, but
if you want to be competitive with other vehicles, you gotta at least get over that 400 mark, because right now that's kind of where a lot of vehicles are sitting at, gas vehicles.
Mm-hmm. And it is interesting. The Roadster is more of like a sports car. It's not going to be like super big for like carrying your family around and everything.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But just the fact that they can get like this kind of performance, like that's the cool thing about electric motors is once the power hits, you don't have to, it's instant power to the wheels. Like there's
that's true.
No, you don't have to rev up and get into the torque range, and all that.
Yeah, I was watching a video on why electric cars are kind of the future, if you will, and that was one of the points that they brought up. They said it's instant power conversion. Like there is no revving up, there is none of that. Like obviously electricity is extremely fast for those that don't know, and obviously once you hit the gas pedal, it immediately gets into power. So just the torque and just the efficiency of the vehicle is way above like gasoline engines, because gasoline engines they have like less than 50% efficiency, which is terrible. Like you're pumping in per gallon of gasoline that you pump into the engine, 40% of that is converted into power, which is, that's kind of sad. Like we've come this far with freaking gasoline engines and we can't get over like whatever 50-60% efficiency. Like that's pretty bad. But electricity, at least I believe they're around 70% efficiency, something like that, maybe higher. So that's a huge plus.
Not to dwell on for electric cars for a long time, but someone did bring up the point that how like when your part of your gasoline price is like road tax and stuff, because when you drive a vehicle on a road, it causes some wear and tear on the road. Mm-hmm. But because they're electric vehicles, they don't pay that tax. There a lot of states, especially as Tesla becomes more popular and other electric car companies, are trying to find a way to either put some kind of surcharge or something just so that they can keep revenue up to help maintain the roads.
Oh yeah, that's something I didn't think about. Yeah, you get all these cuts and stuff because you got a electric car or a smart car or whatever. But if enough people buy that car, then what are you gonna do then to keep up the roads?
I guess you got to get the lottery.
Yeah, something like that. Oh my word! Or they'd have to up taxes elsewhere, which I don't think anyone would like that. Well, do you have anything else?
Oh no, that's really all it is. I didn't know we were going to talk about Tesla for as long as we were.
Oh no, I think it's interesting, and it's technology, so
If you
it
like
falls
hearing
in
other
line.
tech stuff besides all these cybersecurity breaches, let us know.
Yes, yes. If there's anything you actually want to hear or you want us to research or look into, I know I've had some people say to look into like 5G and stuff like that because that's pretty interesting. So I might be going into that in the future. But if you guys want anything else, let us know. Put it in the comments or whatever. Our email, I think, is in our description, so just click on that and let us know. We'd be happy to look into any articles or topics or anything like that for you guys. Now, do you have anything else, John?
Nope.
Nope.
Yep.
All right. Yep. Okay, E40. All right. Well, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Yeah.